This is the best-selling projector in the world. It's very difficult to find a statistic that shows the exact number of units sold. But if we just count the number of units sold per seller, we can easily count over 500,000. Naturally, when I see people flocking to a certain product, it always piques my interest. It has a dual Wi-Fi 6, Bluetooth 5.0 connectivity, speakers, remote, Keystone Correction, and has a native resolution of 1080p with a brightness of 390 lumens. And you can project up to 150 inches in display area. These specs alone are impressive, but what's even more impressive is the fact that they managed to do all that for around $80. So what's the catch? Let's find out. I got mine during a recent AliExpress sale for just $58. For this amount, I didn't even flinch, especially when stated that the brightness is at 390 ANSI lumens, 180p in resolution, and a Keystone Correction. If you have tried a projector before, you will know that these are the key features in any projector. This is not my first projector, so I do have a baseline to work with. The previous projector cost around $650 and has very similar specs. The main issue with it is the Android software. After a year or so, the Netflix app wouldn't work and it was outdated, and for some reason, I couldn't update it through the App Store. I managed to update it by downloading the APK file through a browser, but it constantly crashed and ruined the experience, forcing me to connect to a laptop for a more stable viewing. In order to test, I will be using a Projector Dropdown Screen, and I will also test it on a white wall just so you can see the difference, since that's what most people will be using. And also because the projector is actually cheaper than a decent projector screen. Turning the lights on and testing it for the first time, I was amazed. You would not believe the quality that comes out of this projector until you see it in person. The brightness, which arguably is the number one factor in my opinion, is really good. Not the brightest that I have seen, but it's up there. Although skeptical at first, as I have seen companies falsely advertise their true resolution value, this 1080p projector is actually a 1080p projector, which is absolutely crazy. But wait, there's more. The focus ring on the projector is miles ahead of the previous and much more expensive software-controlled focus. Not only is it actually quicker to focus the image, but it's also very satisfying. In the previous projector, it always felt like I was one step ahead or below the exact focus point, and it always bothered me. But with the manual focus, it's extremely easy and straightforward. On paper, this sounds like a downgrade, and other companies would try to sell you the newer, more advanced software focus. But the reality is, the manual one is better functionality-wise. The Android 11 works good, although a bit buggy. I had no issues signing into my Netflix account and even downloaded a few more extra apps from the store. It has been stable and it didn't require connecting or mirroring from any other device to watch a movie or surf YouTube. The Wi-Fi speed is excellent. I was able to play YouTube videos at a 4K resolution without dropped frames. It doesn't actually display in 4K, but it's a good way to test the speed of the Wi-Fi and the stability of the software. The fan works well and exhausts a ton of heat. You can warm your hands on a cold night. A bit loud, but the speaker easily drowns the noise. Speaking of the speaker, there's no rating available anywhere, but it works good and you may actually use the projector speaker on its own without resorting to a Bluetooth speaker. Keystone Correction works great as well, and it quickly adjusts the image when you position the projector at an angle. Just make sure you turn it on in the settings, as for some reason it was turned off by default. Here are some uninterrupted footage so you can judge for yourself.
Americans were doing a couple hundred tons of cocaine every year.
I hope they're not too crowded. Oh, shut up!
So what's the catch? Why is it so cheap? At $80, it's less than sixth the price of some of the more capable projectors from other well-known brands. Well, the simple answer is they cut corners. Of course they would. If they didn't, you wouldn't get such a high resolution. But the way they did it is commendable. They cut corners where it doesn't really affect the viewing experience and matters the least. Besides the build quality, which we will talk about in a minute, there are two issues that may be a deal breaker for you. One is that it struggles a bit with contrast. The black is difficult to project when the scene is dark. And number two, there's a slight misfocus on the very edges of the screen, even when the middle is perfectly in focus. Both these reasons or issues are caused by the technology that is used in the projector. You see, most modern projectors use a newer laser projecting technology which is much more efficient and requires less maintenance over a long period of time. The HY320 uses an older LCD technology which in simple terms reflects light through a crystal display and magnifies it through a glass lens. And although the light bulb used in the HY320 is rated at 50,000 hours of use, it still falls short compared to most laser projectors. I wouldn't say they did cut corners in using this type of technology, but it's simply a choice they made to keep their product affordable. Where I do think they might have cut some corners is, well, let's just list them to make it easier to digest. No battery. Most modern projectors have a built-in battery of some sort to make it more portable and use it in places other than in your house. The HY320 does not have one. Is it a deal breaker? Absolutely not. In my experience, I have never needed a projector to go camping or even found the right circumstances to use it outside. Not to mention, even the most advanced modern projectors has a battery that will last you for about 2 hours tops before you need to charge it. Plastic build. Now this one is obvious. You can feel it when you're holding it. It feels a bit light, not necessarily cheap, and I would have preferred it to be a little bit heavier as it offers more stability. No USB-C, making it difficult to power through a power bank. And speaking of power, even the cable is super short and I had to use an extension to reach a power outlet. Even further, no fancy interface. You get the bare minimum. Newer projectors will have a 3.0 USB port or have an IR blaster on two sides or a button to flip the screen. With the H320, you get the bare minimum. This next one didn't seem important at first, but I realized later on how important it is. A missing screw hole to mount to a tripod. Since there isn't one, you have to either use a table or some sort of pedestal to prop it up and keep the display area as large as possible, which can easily occupy space and get in the way. No fancy boxes or paperwork. You have exactly 4 items in the box, or 3 if you don't count the instruction manual. And since I have never heard of them, I think it's safe to say they don't advertise as much and rely on reviewers and influencers to promote their products, thus keeping the product affordable. I can't say much about the longevity, but since it's rated at 50,000 hours, it's safe to say that it can last for a decent amount of time. With that being said, none of these cut corners affect the viewing experience nor stop it from being an excellent projector. At 1080p, it's the same resolution as the Anchor Nebula Capsule 3, which is 7 times the price of the HY320. And the brightness of the HY320 is double that of the Nebula. Almost difficult to believe. The out of focus area and the contrast issues that I mentioned will probably be missed by most if not looked for specifically, and they don't stand out. I will 100% recommend this one. It's an amazing value for money. If you're lucky enough to get it during a sale, you can get it for as low as $50. Otherwise, the price is around $80. I will leave a link for the product in all major platforms. If you decided not to use the link, be sure to not pick the HY320 Mini as it has a lower resolution and brightness. If you enjoyed this style of voiceover videos, consider checking my voiceover playlist. That's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.